Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to our September coffee chat called Back to the Basics. I am Laura Knutson Murray. I am the GIS coordinator and community outreach assistant for IrisBG. Our presenter today is Shanna Jones. She is an amazing community outreach assistant with IrisBG, and she also is the plant collections manager for Cheekwood Estate and Gardens. With us on the call today is Oyvind Rustin, who is the founder and CEO of IrisBG. So here's our agenda. We have Shanna giving us an intro, just back to the basics of using IrisBG. And she has been the plant collections manager at Cheekwood Gardens in Nashville for 5 years now. And she's also our community outreach assistant. More about coffee chats, these are for you. So if you have any questions or problems that you'd like us to take on, just let us know. We can give a demonstration of IrisBG's functionality or just work on a problem together. We have so many users all over the world that are doing this great work for plant conservation and reporting. So we'd just love to hear from you. Here's a map of everyone that registered, spanning the globe from Hong Kong to LA. So thank you all for coming. And going to real quick launch a poll to get an idea of everyone's expertise in using IrisBG. Looks like we have about half of you are novice and about 40% are intermediate. So that's great. Without further ado, I will let Shanna take the reins.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so Laura has mentioned that I have worked for Cheekwood Estate and Gardens. That's in Nashville, Tennessee. And we first implemented IrisBG there in 2018. At the beginning of July, I also began working with IrisBG, the company. And one of the things I find most interesting about this job is learning all the different ways our community uses the database. And so I feel like, I do know quite a bit about the software, but I keep learning more because of the different ways that the users utilize it. And so today I'm going to drive us through with a live demo through like the various screens and speak about the different capabilities for beginner users to become familiar with. So I'm going to start from the very get-go. Let me just share my screen real quick. So I've logged in. For those of you who haven't tried the trial version, it's important to know that you will have to enter your username and the password change me. If you've just received the database or you're doing the trial version, and then you set your preferred password once you've logged in. So this is the screen layout where I'm going to go over the different panels and things like that. So this over here, the left side panel is known as the navigation bar. And this is where you can access whatever screen fits your task. Today, for the most part, we will focus on the Accession Screen, and I will be explaining the most commonly used fields and tabs. The menu up here includes file, data, window, and help. I do not use these options too often because many of them are found in this navigation panel or in the toolbar, which is this portion up here. However, I am quite familiar with help. And this is where the reference guide and the technical support live. So I'm going to have to share my screen again because I want to show you the reference guide and it will pop up in another window. So this is quite handy. One of the things I really like about it is you can search keywords. So there's content here, and then there's search in this tab. So that's very handy. There's the getting started page, which is goes over a lot of the things that I will be talking about today. And yeah, so I just wanted to show you that really quickly. It is formatted by usage, modules, and administration in the same organization as the navigation bar on the main screen. Technical support is here in help as well. And so when you click on technical support, I'm just going to share my screen again, but I just don't want to chance. But when you select technical support, what will happen is your email platform will appear, will pop up, and the recipient portion of your email would be support at irisbg.com. And so when you send that email, all of us on the team receives it, and then whoever wants to respond first or has time to does so. And I think that we do a really good job of responding in a timely manner. And I found that as well before I came onto the team. I was very impressed with how Oyvind and Mari were. I didn't have to, it was like within a day's time that I received help. So I really appreciated that. Okay. So maybe you were wondering whenever you first you do the data migration and you're like, is my data really in here? So because you just have this blank screen or, a screen with no fields filled in. So one thing you can do to ease your mind is you can just simply hit this express search. And it's going to take just a second. And then you can see all of the data here. And it is organized by order of accession number. So you see 1960 is when Chiqua began accessioning plants. If you would like to see it in order of taxon, you can just simply click this field taxon name and scroll all the way up. And you can see it starts from the very beginning with these, I think it starts with hybrid orchids. Okay, so to see, also you can define the maximum search. So here I have 5,000, but you can go to infinity, which is really cool. To start, okay, so I'm going to clear. So this right here, this button is very important. This is the clear screen icon. So to get back here to the accession screen, just click that, and then you can, if you have a certain accession number, you just like a particular accession that you need to look up, you would do it in this field here. You can look up the taxon in this field. For instance, if I want to look up all porcus, I can just do that and hit search. And they all come up. Clear again. I can also, if I want to say, I want all taxon in the Asteraceae family, because I didn't spell it right. There you go. Pretty nifty. Clear search again. So I'm actually, Chiqua has a nationally recognized dogwood collection with the American Public Garden Association Plant Network. So I'm going to search for my favorite dogwood cultivar, which is Cornus florida plena. And a cool thing here is that you don't actually have to spell out the entire taxon name. So I'm going to go Cornus florida, and then PLE. Hit search. And then we have several on the property. I am going to choose this one to look into. And now we're going to dig into the data that's been recorded for this accession. So 2001 tells me when the plant was received and accessioned. It was received by Michael Wenzel. And the information on material source is stored here under the origin section. And so contact is like the nursery or commercial greenhouse information. And here this is a good example of how the contact information can differ from the origin. So Great House Landscaping was the re-wholesaler, whereas Shadow Nursery, this is, if anyone's familiar with dogwoods, Don Shadow is an amazing plantsman who really specialized in dogwood breeding. But anyway, that's the grower information here. Provenance, I normally, for cheekwood's purposes, I normally select unrecorded. This is actually very helpful for any of you that do some wild collecting, or like just going out wherever, maybe off property, but then wild origin, like in the garden, something just like happens to self-propagate or something, that may be an option. So yeah, and so he recorded this in January 2001. I see here that there were 3 individuals originally associated with this accession. Oh, another thing that sometimes is related, like tree related. So I see here it was recorded as a juvenile. This life stage field, I feel like it's mostly just for trees. So you've got all these different life stages here. Yeah, and you can make comments on this as well, on this field. So I'm going over to the items tab. The type is planting. The other option, cheekwood doesn't have one, but the other option besides planting would be herbarium. So here, planting is selected, and you always have to select this before you enter any of the other fields. It won't let you select anything if you don't have planting selected here. References, this section here refers to seed storage. So maybe that's like a living herbarium, and like what kind of storage containers you use. Location code. So this is important, especially before you do your data migration, to make sure you have distinct location garden beds for all of your plants. Cheekwood has done, they've always done a fairly good job, even going way back, of having defined gardens, not always garden beds, but definitely defined gardens. And a few years ago, we agreed to go with an alphanumeric format for all the garden bed names, because we did actually have some uniquely named garden beds. There was one bed called Eyebrow Bed. So we're still working on assigning and implementing this new way. But Cheekwood has 14 different gardens, and one of the gardens, the children's garden, has 36 beds. So a few years ago, I began using ArcGIS to define the bed codes, and this just makes better sense on a logistical level when communicating with contractors and even in the gardeners as well. So yeah, location reference and sub-reference is really cool to use. For instance, we have an herb study garden, and so even though those beds are like HE1 through HE12, location reference is good for me to note that it's the culinary bed or the fragrance bed, because they're all themed beds. So I thought I would just show you, I'm going to share my screen once more and just show you my dogwood beds. And so here is the dogwood bed that I created using ArcGIS. And so it's really handy to be able to give this to like a spray technician that comes out, or a new gardener that comes on staff, you know. And these green beds, these are still the dogwood beds, but they are the lawn areas of that garden. So yeah, so back to location. So you can see that I have the lat long information here. This was all retrieved using ArcGIS, mapping with the Field Maps app, and then doing the data import into IrisBG. And so if I click on this globe, and this is showing me exactly where the tree is on the property. And all the other green dots are other cornice varieties. And you can even adjust. I'm not going to do it because I know it's in the correct spot, but you can even drag this marker and adjust the position and the location if you'd like, if you need to. All right. So now we're going to look at this status information here. So this is where I can see that I inventoried this tree in 2020, so last November. You'll see that, I don't know if you remember, but originally we had three individuals attached to this accession. One of the things that I have started to change is that I just feel like trees should have their own accession number and not be groups. So there is now one individual with this accession, and this label type 1, label type 2, this is where I keep inventory of all accession tags and plant size. So B1 is the brass tag, and it looks like it's good. It's okay. We have a brass tag for that. And the L6 refers to the 5 by 4 inch stake that we purchased in from Lark Label, and we're okay on that as well. So I can actually, I mean, this is so handy. I love being able to use the label fields to record my brass tag and label inventory. And if I hit not okay, I can do a report on all cornice or all everything that has a not okay label, and then that will inform my next plant size purchase. So what else do we have here? We've got some measurement information. So this is where I use this for DBH recordings. I haven't done it with dogwoods, but with other trees, I've recorded DBH, and that has helped us to estimate the cost for preventative healthcare, like preventative sprays. That's been really extremely handy to use. Material. I don't really use this. Again, I think this might be for different, I garden with different needs, like they're doing more propagation and that kind of thing. And then comments is where I record anything pertaining to the plant's health or changes. For instance, I split this into 2 separate accessions. And so I made another accession number for the other individual. There were 3. I don't know what happened to the other one. Unfortunately, not everything was always recorded. I think that Chiqua didn't have a designated plant recorder for a while, so a lot of data is just like not there. But yeah, so that is the items property. And I did mention the item history. And so this window over here is the item where item history is stored. So if you hit this plus, you can see all the different changes that have been made or record, data recorded. So yeah, it looks like in 2001 there were 3, in 2004. So something happened between 2001 and 2004 with that one dogwood individual. This is also where you could add, like if you say it's not a tree, but it's like a mass planting of phlox subulata, and you divided it and you took some to another garden, but you want to keep that same accession, that's totally fine. You could just hit this plus and change the location here, put the status, and the number or whatever, and then save. And then that's one way to use this window. Another way would be, so say Chiqua did have an herbarium and we wanted to take some of that, take some material from that and some seeds or something, and then hit, we could so if we did have an herbarium, we would hit herbarium and then change the location. So that would be another way to use it. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the attribute section of details tab. So this is really, really cool. You can add whatever kind of unique values you would like. You just have to define them over here in the code list section, which is under definitions. So this is where I recorded, like I said, we have a dogwood collection. So this is part of our dogwood collection. Let's see what other things we could select. So say this had a donor associated with it. This is where I could fill this in. It could be a big old tree contest winner. That's something that Nashville does, and that we submit trees for every year. So those are all the different, things that you can define for your own organization. And then later you could do a report on all the tree winner, contest winners, or whatever you need to do. It's super, super handy. The Parentage tab, going back to the tabs, this is, again, we don't do at Chiqua, there's just not a lot of research or anything going on. But if I were to do some hybridization projects, I could record the parents in this tab. And, depending on the propagation method, you could have 1 to 2 parents, right? Images are stored here, so you can see, so I'm working with a tiny laptop right now, but so if you are as well, you just have to make sure that you move these borders over, and you can maximize your space. I did not know that this was an option for longer than I am willing to admit, but yeah. So this is the little thumbnail, and to see it over here in this screen, just double click. It's very, very important that you know that all images that are stored in the Accession Images tab will also be stored in the Taxon tab. So like the Taxon tab for Cornus Plana will store all of the images for each of these accessions if you put them here. So I don't do it. I just really, unless there's an accession or a plant, with this accession that I need to record some kind of healthcare issue. So for instance, maybe this is sick, this is maybe it has an iron deficiency, I don't know. So I will put that photo in here, but then what I can do so that it doesn't show up publicly on our Garden Explorer is I can rank it. And if you rank something 10 and above, it will not be shown publicly, and it will only be for internal views. And an easy way to do that is just to simply click on the actual thumbnail where the number is here and change it to 10 or above. So yeah, so with images, the way to upload from a file is by clicking on this green plus sign. The blue plus sign will allow you to actually add a web image. And then to delete, you will click this button. Yeah, so now we're going to go over to references. And this is super handy for if you like to store your purchase invoices. I have also stored like documents pertaining to lab testing. So we just do a lot of lab testing for our ash trees because of emerald ash borer. So I've stored a lot of that information here. This is also where you can store like library, like actual books. So we have Michael Durr as a reference for all of our woody plants. And you can also do web links here. The web search is super cool. This is built into the database, and these are all highly regarded plant nomenclature authorities. So if you ever have an accession with a questionable taxon name, this is where you would go to confirm and, you know, to just check that out. So I love that. Now we will navigate over to the events tab. And here you will see that there are quite a few events associated with this accession. We have quite a few anthracnose and borer preventative spray tasks, as well as this tour. It's on our dogwood collection tour that can be found on our Garden Explorer. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about searching. I'm going to click clear new. I don't want to save any of those changes I made. So cancel that. And yeah, we're going to talk about express search. So when you do an express search, it's really when you're just looking for like one criteria. So for instance, I could search anything that was accession in 1999 in his search. So I know I've mentioned using the express search for retrieving a taxon name. There are many other searchable fields, and they are distinguished by this little circle, these little circles you see, but also the little whoop whoop. This is the tilde sign, and it's yeah. So the little circles are cool because they're cool. They're because they're like the find the code list. So that's where you can search, for instance, anything that was collected by this guy, Daryl Probst. But you can't just enter anything in that field and search it. So the tilde sign's actually even a little bit cooler in my opinion, because you can search for it's like a free form. So you can just put anything in there and search, and you may come up with something and you may not come up with anything. So that's very handy to know. I didn't know that when I first started using. I didn't know what these symbols meant. So the advanced search window is when you can, this is handy for like choosing more than one criteria, as many as you need. And check this out, you can do equal to, like, I want every accession that occurred in 2003. or between 2003 and 2020. So there's plenty of options available with this search. So now I'm going to clear out of here, and I'm going to take us over to the Taxa screen. So scrolling back up on the navigation panel, selecting Taxa. And so just as I was saying about the express searches, you can also do that with Taxa screens, the same little circle tilde signs. Yeah, and if you just do an express search, all of your available taxons will appear. So these aren't accessions, these are the taxon. Yes, and so note that the same tabs are also included. We have the names, details, parentage. These are all available also with the accessions, except we're missing the items tab. So that's not needed for accession. And you can also type the partial name in the search field here as well. And oh yeah, and common names can be ranked. So if you ever feel a need to rank your common names, maybe there's one that you prefer over the other, you could do that here. So if you come to names, okay, so see over here in the genus, the name properties section, the genus, if you click on this ellipsis here, this is bringing up for us all of the current nomenclature from the life science identification service. So this is actually built into IrisBG, and it is kept up to date, and it's just super handy to have, as we all know. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about custom themes, and that's under the details tab here. So I'm just going to show you what I have defined as themes. It's not a whole lot, but it's a few things. So for our herb garden, I have started to further define those accessions within that garden with things like fragrant and medicinal. And so what's really cool about themes is if you're planning on implementing Garden Explorer at any time, these themes can be made searchable on your Garden Explorer website. And yeah, it's just, I think that's a really cool thing to do. And it's, it engages the guest if they're on the property or if they're just like, maybe it's a student doing research, using your website. So there's a lot of things going on here. It's very similar to the Accession Screen. Here are the images. It's very similar here. The references are also the same. But the details tab is different, and this can be really fun to fill out, and like the description and life form. These are the things that can be shown on your Garden Explorer. I'm going to navigate over to reports and talk about this for a minute. So reports can be as specific as you need them to be by allowing criteria to be selected from accessions, accession items, taxa, and even events. And again, I think I showed you earlier that you can select equal to sorry, you can select equal to, between, greater than. There's some fields like, for instance, attribute accessions. These I define for our organization, and you can do the same. But see here, and you have one more, sorry, you have one more option included here, which is, or two more, which is contains, is empty, or is not empty. So especially for donors, I think that I've used this to show all trees that can have a donor attached to it. And that's really, really helpful for our development team too. So I can send them a report or even a map showing all trees that are funded or, you know, have a donor associated with it. Oh, and you can also save report filters. So we are going to walk through how to do that right now. So what if we did a report on all, I'm gonna go to session items for this. So item data, always have to make sure that this is selected, planting. And I'm going to select all inventoried deciduous trees that are southeastern natives so that's an attribute. So I click on the attribute accession. Actually, that's an attribute taxon. So I'm going to click or type in southeastern. And oh, located in the children's garden. So
thank you, Shanna, for your presentation.
Yeah, thanks for everyone.
Please reach out if you have further questions, and Shanna or I, or even Oyvind, will get back to you quickly. And yeah, we're just glad to have you all here. And we look forward to our next coffee chat in October, where we will hear from Autumn on their camellia collection, their historic camellia collection, and tracking pathogens within it. So feel free to sign up for that one. It will be really informative.